Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. And before we start, I think we need to say happy birthday to Rod Babers.
Yay!
Yeah, Rod B.
Hey, like I texted Rod in the chat, he survived the second watch to see another year.
And
That's quite an accomplishment after Saturday to survive the second watch.
That was a brutal game on Saturday. For those, I'm sure almost everyone that's listening to this or reading or watching this has seen that game. It was a second brutal watch. It did not get any better, in my opinion. I did that yesterday. And Jerry and Blake and everybody out there, the Texas offensive line did not get any better. Were there redeeming aspects of the offensive line? I was looking for them. If I had to say there were any, I felt like DJ Campbell and Brandon Baker did not play poorly. But long story short, left guard, Nick Brooks was a turnstile. Connor Stroh was a turnstile when he was in there. So it wasn't like either one of them. I don't know if Florida had identified that, Jerry and Blake, prior to the start of the game and do that, but they ran almost every stunt on the left side from center, guard, tackle. They ran almost every stunt, every feigned pressure from the left side, not the right side. So take that for what it's worth. I do think they may have seen something pregame in retrospect, but it was not pretty from the start. The offensive line did not play well, obviously. The defense was probably the most shocking thing for me, and we've mentioned this in the video yesterday, Jerry, that we thought Texas would be able to handle Florida defensively. Well, Florida came out and dictated the game to Texas. They were able to run. Jaden Ball danced in the hole. The Texas defensive line could not get off blocks. Thus, we end up seeing a 29-21 win for the Florida Gators, and Texas did not look competitive sometimes for much of that game.
Well, look, I'm a broken record since the game, but I'm going to say it one more time. I don't even care what happened from an X's and O's standpoint in the game. Texas boarded a flight going to Gainesville in a must-win situation. They saw on tape Florida was a physical team. Florida was going to have some fight. They played well on defense. You could see there, even in their losses, they played well on defense. And Texas got punched in the mouth repeatedly, physically, by an opponent over the course of 3.5 quarters, essentially. It was a physical beatdown. And then what I think makes where fans have real issues, you can live with mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, right? We all do. We all always will. But what you don't, as fans, what you do not ever, or you should never be okay with, is getting beat up physically and being undisciplined on top of it. So before anything else is talked about, that was the major issue I saw in this game Saturday. It's something that you'd never really want to see, is when somebody you board a flight and you know this is a must-win game and you know this is a big game. You already have one loss. You're playing a University of Florida, and they physically whack you and beat you up everywhere, not just on the lines. Those are bad, but everywhere. And by the time you try to swing back, if you do swing back, you're in a hole. Then it's undisciplined after that. Those are the things fan bases do not handle and should not handle. Just being real, that's athletics in general. Anybody that follows sports knows those are the things that really you don't handle as a fan. So again, I said this is culture test. This is the first time Sark's culture has their back against the wall since he turned the program around. So if Saturday against Oklahoma is not the most physical, emotionally driven effort by this Texas team we've seen since January 10th last year against Ohio State, which you give teams credit. That was a playoff game. But if you don't see something very similar from a physicality and just an emotional standpoint Saturday, something's wrong. It's my bottom line right now.
All right, Jerry, we're going to hear briefly in just a moment from Marcus Myers. But before we do, because I'm sure Marcus, I have not talked to him since the game, is going to have his thoughts to add to that. But before we do, I want to say thank you to our sponsor on Monday's Coffee and Football. That is John Donovan, President, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John's a proud Texas Ex's Life member whose wife and 6 siblings are all UT grads. It's the family passion for UT that led John to brand his firm, Longhorn Wealth Management Group, and dedicated to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends across the nation for more than 30 years. John's looking forward to seeing all OTF fans at the Texas Ex's tailgate at Fair Park this Saturday. If you're going to the game, he's predicting the Longhorns to rebound with a 27-23 win over OU and wants to share his optimism with all OTF fans by offering a free 90-minute private consultation with John how to see how he can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Call Longhorn Wealth Team at 972-707-4900 or go online at www.longhornwealth.net. Thank you, John, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football. I tell you what, Marcus Myers, as you join us here, we are in a situation where I need some wealth management because I don't have any right now based on what I saw on Saturday. What did you think of that game Saturday, Marcus?
Man, I don't know if I got enough time to tell you everything I thought of the game. I will start though. I'm on brand.
That's good.
I'm ready to go. Right, I got my coffee. The football part wasn't handled near how I thought it would have been handled. I think one of the unfortunate parts is the aspects of things that I felt most confident in. Obviously, I spoke about the defense and traveling. The defense didn't travel, right? And that was the first time in a long time I can remember seeing a Texas team just full on get bullied from the start. And this will sound a little odd, but, the very first play, we came out, defensively. They had a short completion, made a good, stick for a potential fumble recovery, right? And we didn't get it. I'll be honest with you. I had this feeling in my gut, almost like, and I hate to bring this back up, but it was almost like the drop pick right before Crabtree. Like something in me just immediately said, this is going to be a long day. And it just continued to play out that way. I have not seen a team get whipped up front that way that Texas has put on the field in a long time.
Yep.
And I know people in the chat probably have tons of thoughts and opinions and feelings on all kinds of stuff. And a lot of people were trying to brush aside the level of talent they had. They were talking about, this is what this team is ranked or they're unranked and these are the opponents. And we talked at length about how good that defensive line was. I think I even shared that, I had heard from one of the offensive linemen that he personally felt that would be the most difficult offensive line they faced all year. So, seeing those things play out, the energy that Florida played with is the energy that we should have been playing with. They played like it mattered. They played like their hair was on fire. They played like they really knew what was at stake for them. And that's what we were absent. Look, we can talk all day about the X's and O's. I'm sure we'll have plenty of conversations about it. I don't think Arch is the problem. I don't think that it's any one given thing. But, I mean, if you just look in the trenches, my dad always talks about, where are the big nasties. Nothing was there was no will being enforced on anybody on the Texas side of the ball, on either side of the Texas ball on Saturday. And that was really disappointing for me because I thought they were going to come out and play much more competitively.
Yeah, Marcus, I mean, that's kind of what I hit on. And I think that was the most concerning thing about Saturday is you knew what was on the line when you got on the plane to go to Florida. I mean, you know what's on the line. You already have one loss. I mean, and you know what this is at this point. And to just get physically, and look, the lines were the magnifier, but it was on the perimeter too, right? I mean, Dallas Wilson may be a super freak, but he still physically beat you up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looked like Michael Crabtree running at the end of the Tech game.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
But it did, though.
It did. It did. I mean, let's be real. If we're going to be real. But, I mean, like, it was a that was the thing that I had a hard time dealing with, is that you knew what was on the line and you physically got beat down. And I don't mean score-wise. I mean physically got beat down. That's a bad look, man. So now the back's against the wall. Now the culture's back's against the wall. And somebody in the chat said that's an overreaction on culture. I don't think so. Culture's back against the wall for the first time under Sark, and now they got to come out and prove what they have.
Yeah. Well, and look, and I even, like I said, I toe a fine line with this, right? I don't really consider myself a fan. I don't know what the right title for myself is, but like, as someone that's done it, as someone that, as passionate as the fans are, like I've lived this stuff, right? So then we all got to go back to our friends and stuff, and you hear all the noise that's talked. So you can only imagine, what is continuing to come these guys' way. But like, I'm seeing stuff in the chat about, these guys are getting paid and it's not acceptable. They're still kids getting paid. So yeah, I agree, it's not acceptable, right? But it continues to reinforce what we've discussed about the overall season, is that ultimately I think this team will be better later than they will be earlier because they're a younger squad. But don't get it twisted. Like, they got their asses kicked on Saturday.
Yeah.
And this Oklahoma team that they're about to play, they embarrassed last year. So, I don't know what their offense is going to look like. If Mateer's out, sure, that gives us a better chance. But that defensive line is going to come to play too. And they're going to see what everybody saw, that there's issues all up and down, this squad right now. I mean, we got a punt block, fellas. Like, I've not seen these things take place. And so I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but I'm also not just going to try and put lipstick on a pig here. Yeah. I just think, they didn't come ready to play. And that is very disappointing for me, because when you get to this point in the season, especially SEC play, your first road game in a place like the Swamp, you gotta bring it.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said early in that first play where Grayson Littleton made a nice play, caused the fumble. Texas might have been able to get the recovery quickly, right? It felt like that first half, there were a bunch of missed opportunities like that. Downing the ball inside the 5 a couple times. Maybe missing on a big pass play, just, getting hit right when he's throwing it. Or missing, and then the third quarter, missing on the double pass.
Yeah.
It felt like Texas, every time it looked like there might be an opening or something might be going good, they didn't execute. And I think that's a mental when I think of culture, Jerry, and I'm just going to, because Jerry's talking about culture and how we think of it. That's making plays is a culture. It's not necessarily, acting right and, being a good teammate. Culture is what you do on the field at some level, and making plays is part of that culture. Right. And so what I saw on Saturday from that standpoint was I saw opportunities that didn't get made, that didn't work, and so I feel like that's part of it. Marcus, I had a question. You just mentioned special teams.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about special teams for a while. That's a punt block in a game, tight game. It happened at A&M too, by the way. Same off the same area or around the same area.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that punt block? And is there an issue on special teams that other teams are picking up on right now?
I think whatever it is, I don't know if it's a specific tell as much as it is more representative of what that entire game looked like. That people in positions to make plays, to do. I think we talked about this, Jerry. You talked about the necessity of the intensity, and I said being assignment sound was as equally important, because the environment was going to ratchet up. For whatever reason, it just, individual guys didn't do their job, and you're missing a play by this much, right? Yep. And you do this much enough time over the course of a game, and that's how you lose like that. And so I would be, Bobby, it would be wrong of me to try to make an assumption with respect to exactly what teams are picking up in those moments. But in some of these big moments, these guys are losing a bit of their focus. I know they're not coached to do those specific things, right? I mean, we're not even talking about the thing that was bothering me the most, and I'm trying not to get away from special teams, Bobby, but it kind of permeated all throughout, right? It's like there were instances where it looked like we were playing like two-hand touch, right?
Yes.
And so even on the missed punt block, or like the guy just went right by him. No, I mean, just didn't even get a chip on him or anything. And so for me, that is a fundamental issue. That is a lack of focus issue. And for all the talking heads that will, continue to dissect this, that, quite frankly, relish in the fact that Texas lost in this fashion. I'm part of a SEC group, for Black alums, right? And I mean, they have a field day with this stuff because they when we came into the league, it just means more, right? And then you make it to the championship game, but the thing is, well, every time you played somebody with the pulse, you couldn't show up. So I'm saying all this to say these are the things that continue to compound issues because the noise is going to get even louder now. So how do you then hone back in and truly focus on doing your job? Every single man doing their job. And at the end of the day, I've said it time and time again. Tony talks about it a lot. Every single play is a fight. I don't know if Alfio, Big Cat, is watching this, right? But every single play is a fight. I don't care if that's special teams and you're the up man blocking. I don't care if that's the defensive line, the offensive line, wherever you're at on the field, it's a full-blown fist fight. And that's just what threw me off, man. So I'm sorry on the rant, Bobby. It just
I love it. Hey.
No, Marcus, that's the problem. Is every time you looked around and said, "Did you come physically ready for the fight?" The answer was no. And I'm not saying all 74 players, not all 74 players, right? Ty Anthony Smith's a hell of a player. He made some plays, but when you look around, there was not enough guys that were engaged in the physical battle out there for me, and that's the biggest problem I had.
I will tell you. I want to say two things. One, the reason I mentioned special teams, Marcus and Jerry and Blake, it felt like part of what we're talking about are repeat mistakes. That's the same punt block that happened against A&M. So that's 6 months, or that's 12 months ago or whatever, 10 months. Sure. But it's a repeat, and some of that is Bobby's may have spread. The coaching staff has been together for like 3 years for the most part, and we continue to talk about issues, not new ones, but the same ones. There's some truth to that. But the thing that I would add to this that was, when you start talking about coming ready to play physically, the person I was most concerned with going into that game, being ready physically and going after it, may have been Arch Manning. Mm-hmm. And I thought he showed as much grit or more than anybody. I mean, he's the one that stepped back there and took 35 pressures, 6 sacks, and got up wanting more. So I do think and I say all that to say there were some redeeming qualities there, Jerry, that we saw. But overall, to your point and to Marcus's point, they got manhandled on both. I think it was, I know you're saying skill positions. I really think it was mostly line of scrimmage. Texas couldn't get off blocks, and they couldn't block Florida. I mean, it's bottom line.
I don't know it off the top of my head, right? But remove Arch's rushing.
8 for 15.
What was it, Bobby? I mean,
I thought it was
8 for 15.
I thought it was 11 for 15.
11 for 15.
You're not doing anything with that, right? Yeah. And so then I've heard, they should have pulled someone else from the portal on the O-line or running back. Okay, sure. Maybe O-line. I hear you. And then it goes back to the same old point. What do you sacrifice to be able to do that? But no running back was coming here. I think I said this on y'all's live stream last night, Jerry. No running back was coming here to play second, third fiddle, right? Like
Ahmad Hardy's not leaving UL Monroe to
none of that's fixing that. Yeah, James Simon, Jarrett Gibson. My guess is they have concerns about any of them in pass pro. So that's why you didn't see a ton of them out there, even though Wisner and Co weren't effective. So again, I won't fully argue someone should have gotten a shot at it or a couple more reps. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that the O-line came to play. I don't think that the entire defense came to play for the overwhelming majority of the game. And then I think the thing that really bothered me is it's like when your back gets against the wall, now all of a sudden you turn it on in the fourth quarter to try to make it close. It's too late. You can't do that in this league. And so the only other thing I would add is when we talk about this culture problem or potential culture problem, for me, it will only be a problem if the way in which they bounce back is flat, right? Like at this point, you have to take this personally as an individual player. As every coach on that staff, which I personally feel like that's what they're going to do, right? But I haven't seen it, So that's the tough part about how you project going forward. I think I can't remember what game it was after. It was maybe after UTEP when we were talking that kind of everything's off the table and readjust your expectations. They have to come out and play like their lives depend on it. I know that 100%. Sounds dramatic because there's so much going on in the world, but that's how they have to come out this week. If not, they're going to get embarrassed in Dallas.
Marcus, that's what I said last night on the chat and on TexasFootball.com. The Texas fan base and Oklahoma fan base needs to walk out of the Cotton Bowl, no matter who wins that game, and say that Texas team was physical and they played hard, and that's not the same team that we saw against Florida. And that needs to be both fan bases saying that, no matter who wins or loses the game. If both fan bases say, "Hey, boy, that looked the same as Florida," you got problems.
Yeah. The only other thing I would want to say too is, I know I'm passionate about this morning.
Yeah,
Bobby, pull the hook on me whenever you got to, man. I got thoughts for days on this, but I also do want to say, like, I don't view this fully as the sky is falling. Right? This isn't me turning my back on them. This isn't me saying these guys are worthless. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Yes.
And I promise you, what they saw in the film room, what the stuff that they've had to review is infinitely worse than anything that's being said on this chat, anything that I'm saying. I just want to, I guess, make the point that, in a space where we are fanatical about these things, they're still humans.
Yep.
They still got to find a way to dig within themselves, to band together, and to push forward. That's what life is about. It's about trying to find ways to bounce back. You're not judged by how you handle the heights of your success, right? It's when you're in the peaks, or rather in the valleys, valley seasons, man. I'm not even trying to go biblical here, but I was listening to a sermon last night, and they were showing, what an EKG looks like. So, your heartbeat is going up and down. And I mean, that's basically life, right? Like, what you don't want is when it's flat, but you're going to run into really good moments and really low ones. And they're facing a challenging one, but they have the ability to turn around and spike it back the other direction. So, we certainly got to rally behind them, but I think it's perfectly reasonable to also hold them accountable. Like, they get that. Sark gets that. That's why they get paid.
I'm thinking, guys, just as we talk about this game, one of the things that I realized and thought in the preseason, right? Because in the preseason, I predicted Florida to beat Texas. And one of the reasons I predicted that is because this would be a really difficult road game, long travel, etc. Texas has played at Alabama 2 years ago, but this was a young team going on a true SEC road test. They weren't playing OU in Dallas, for example, right?
Yeah.
And they were playing a really good team. This wasn't Vanderbilt in Nashville last year, where Texas was decidedly more talented. This was, y'all realize, in my opinion, this was the first true road game since really 2023, where I think Texas went on the road in the SEC and played a equally talented team. And that was one of the reasons that I do think having to travel, having to do all that stuff on a real game, I think that can take your eye off the ball a little bit. I'm not so sure that didn't have a little something to do with it too.
But Bobby, you don't ever expect your team to show up and get physically whipped.
No, I hear you.
You don't expect.
I hear you.
Nobody expects that.
I hear you. We can beat that until we're dead in the. My point is, a little bit of me thinks that the newness that this team is experiencing, they haven't had to fight like this, Jerry. They haven't had to show a spine other than Ohio State.
And it's a different
9 of 11 guys on offense.
I'm not there.
It's a different squad though, right? I mean, so to your point, Bobby, I think it's the old Mike Tyson adage, everybody has a plan, so you get punched in the mouth. I think they got punched in the mouth Saturday in a way that, for whatever reason, surprised them a bit.
Yep.
I think on some level, maybe whatever was drilled into them, as much as they said, hey, be ready for these guys, it's different when you get in the game and now you're looking at a Dallas Wilson and you're like, wait a minute, I saw Jeremiah Smith, but he didn't do this, right? And I saw somebody in the chat just say, stop making excuses. What do you want us to do right now? Like, we're talking about Texas football. We're just having the conversation, talking through what is the alternative to having this conversation. If you don't want us to talk about it, well, then what's the point in having the channel, right? Like, I don't think any of us are trying to make an excuse. I think we're trying to look at this from different vantage points, try to understand maybe a bit of what the issue could be and how you move forward. All right, let's say you call it a coaching issue. Well, you're not dropping your whole staff in the middle of the season. So now what, right? You got to find something within all of this to have a turning point. And so whether it was, their first true road experience, they're still a very young team, and so whether we want to like that or not, whether you think that's an excuse because they're all paid, whatever, I don't care. I've been out there on these fields. I've gone places that are tough to play. I know what it's like. And granted, we weren't getting paid at the time, but the standard that we were trying to hold ourselves to was the same. The difference was we had older teams. So for me, I think we were able to mask a lot of some of the potential issues we could have had because we had more veteran leadership to lean on, people that had seen it. And at the end of the day, guys that were willing to fight. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. I don't think it was an overlooking anybody to OU. I think they went out there and they got smacked in the mouth. And for the first time, that team looked soft. They got knocked around the field, right?
100%.
And so I think the conversation is more around trying to figure out the whys of it and how you correct it. But I don't think anybody is making excuses. We're not sitting here trying to make this sound like that it's something that it's not. It's just you only have so much that you can analyze and try to figure out where you go from there. So I don't know if it's entirely just the first time that they've experienced something like that, Bobby. I do think it is, for whatever reason, it was a shock to them that they couldn't do some of what they wanted to do. And again, for me, the biggest issue is if you get whipped like that on the trenches, your entire team sees that, and that impacts everything you want to do.
Yeah.
So if you can't not even control the line of scrimmage, but just hold point, that makes everything the opposing team wants to do infinitely easier.
And again, Marcus, it's not like Jaden Ball had been running wild against LSU in Miami. He had 12 for 40 and 12 for 46 and was not a great running back. That'll be a 10-year pro. Wasn't really a factor in the game except for one drive in both those games.
Yeah.
And it was on tape. I mean, it was on tape that Florida was a good physical defense. Miami's just got a really good offensive line, but they fought at Miami. Yeah. It didn't. Miami scored on the 2 late drives, but that was a battle, even with DJ Lagway running for his life. And that's the other thing is that's what makes this look really bad, I think, for Texas, from my point of view. 2 weeks prior, Miami beat Florida, and DJ Lagway was running for his life. Jaden Ball couldn't get a yard outside of one. That Florida's offensive line wasn't getting any push. They weren't winning battles.
Sure.
Miami, over the course of the game, we has a really good offensive line, leaned on Florida to win that game. Carson Beck, I think, had 2 interceptions in that game. That's the thing that makes it look really bad. It's 2 weeks after Miami and 3 weeks after LSU. And Florida came in and just beat up Texas physically. Yeah. That's what compounds it for me, is seeing where they had struggled before against good teams.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just throw this out there too, not as an excuse, because I'll tell you, I think we discussed it early on. I didn't like the fact that we were ranked number 1 coming into this season. I didn't think they were worth that at that point. They hadn't proved that. I also didn't think, whatever game that was, I think, again, it was maybe the UTEP game where things looked pretty rough. I didn't think they deserved to stay in the top 10 at that point, right? But I do think that at the end of the day, part of what is causing a lot of this angst right now, and a lot of this chat in the stuff going on within our fan base and in the chat, is that because of these rankings, because of the expectations that, if I'm honest, a lot of times I find to be unrealistic, right? I don't always know necessarily if a team has what it takes to win it all. I kind of felt that way about our 05 team, but the teams I've watched since, it was like that, the 09 team. But outside of that, they have a shot, or I guess the 08 team, they have a shot, but you have to see the season play out. I guess what I'm getting at is if our expectation is constantly that this is our year, right? This is the year. You're going to be disappointed if anything short of domination shows up. And the quiet part out loud is, yeah, our guys are getting paid, but so are theirs. Yep. And Lagway, he talked about, hey, they were close to the offensive popping or something like that. Well, we don't have a Dallas Wilson. Like, let's not get it twisted. Dallas Wilson is much closer to a Jeremiah Smith than he is, anybody that we have on our squad. So things like that, I think, wake guys up. I just see Big Cat Alfio join, the chat. He'll probably continue to just talk about, the O-line play. But man, it just I'm ranting now. I know that, but these guys, man, it got me worked up because I felt like they had an opportunity to show something different.
Marcus, on the same line, it's like, everybody starts looking at Texas offensive line recruiting rankings as prospects. Florida started 3 3-stars and 2 borderline 4-stars, and they're all guys who have been in the program multiple years.
Yeah.
There's one guy from the portal, Damian George, from North Shore, Alabama, transferred into Florida.
Right.
They didn't have 4 or 5-star offensive linemen out there running around, guys. They had 3 3-stars who were SEC level recruits and 2 borderline 4-star offensive linemen. So you didn't just – it's not always about player rankings either.
And some of our best teams,
if you don't physically come for the fight in this sport, this game is about physicality and emotion. At the
some
start.
of our best teams, the offensive line wasn't littered with 5-stars. Yeah, we had a couple, right? But tell me, I don't remember what Casey was ranked. I don't remember what Lyle was ranked, but they were ready to fight every play. They were a person that you didn't want to come across in the trenches, right? And so I don't know, I keep development. I don't know how you develop the and I'm gonna go here again. I don't know how you develop the willpower to kick somebody's ass, to not get embarrassed, right? Like to go out there and take pride in it. And as I'm saying this, I've been on the opposite end of getting my tail kicked at times, right? So I'm not trying to sit here as holier than thou. I was the end all be all, but when we're talking about development, sometimes it truly comes down to the player. I think the coaches have plenty to shoulder with respect to blame here, but some of these guys just aren't there yet, right? And maybe they don't get there. That's the other possibility that you have to consider. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know how you blame. I have my thoughts on the staff, and for me, I'm not really going to go there. That's just not really what I get into. That's not my jam. But I am always going to look at things from a player standpoint and say, it's on you to win against the man in front of you. And some of that, I don't know how you put on a coach. That's just my perspective. You can call it an excuse. You can call it whatever you want. I don't care. But I look at it as a player. It's incumbent upon you to make sure that you do your job on every play. And, I just, again, we talk all the time about how you spend your money, right? Well, okay, cool. So let's say, they've been spending a lot of money on the defensive line, retaining players. All right, we go grab all these pieces here and there that everybody thinks we should have in hindsight, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're not ready and we should have done X, Y, and Z. And then what if you have the same result and it's just in different spots that you're leaky? Like, this isn't Madden. You don't get to just go in there and press a trade and it automatically gets accepted. This isn't fantasy football. You don't get to sub guys in. This is real life, man. Like, you have to go out there and play every single play. Sometimes you're going to get it right. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. So, whoever this guy is that keeps saying I'm making excuses, cool. Like,
Marcus, people say all kinds of things in the chat. Don't take it personal.
No, not at all. I'm just, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. No, hey, look, we got a lot. We got all week to discuss this.
Absolutely.
OU's coming up, man.
No.
That's
Yep.
The bottom line is we can
see
look
my
in
header.
the
OU still sucks, right? That's what it comes down to.
we can look in the rearview mirror a lot.
Yeah.
If we want to. You know, the reality of it is we can bemoan the fact that they didn't come ready to play. We can do all of that. The reality is they're 3-2. They don't do that at OU, to Jerry's point. They're really in trouble. So,
Yeah.
all right, Marcus, thank you so much, dude. Appreciate
Yes,
you. You'll be on again Thursday night with Rod and Coach Shipley. Appreciate you very much. Then he'll be on with us, I hope, on Friday afternoon as well. Thanks, Marcus. You have a good one, buddy.
Welcome.
Welcome, man. All right, take care. All right, need to tell folks that was a good conversation, guys.
Great.
It was.
Need to talk to tell folks about Mint Mobile. You know what doesn't belong in your plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning barbecues and 3-day weekends for Texas football games, like I was at this week in Florida, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why you can make the switch to Mint Mobile. It's the wireless plan I sent my son to college with. With Mint, you can get the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. You can take that the amount you're spending down from other plans. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for just $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. Upfront payment of $45 is required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, Jerry, tell us about Gooder this morning.
By the way, everybody, thank you for the super chats. We enjoyed those. Marcus says thank you as well. I got to put the shades on here. I know when I'm not going to be putting them on the rest of the year. All right, Stylish Sunnies starting at only $25 a pair, 1-year free warranty, 30-day free returns. They're lightweight and they're comfortable. They're 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce. I'm wearing these bad boys to DFW. When I leave this show in a few minutes, I'm going to see high school kids all week. From vibrant colors to sleek styles, there's a pair of Gooders for every personality, designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and much, much more. So that brings me to, where do you win and where do you wear those Gooder Sunnies? On a run, playing pickleball, on a hike, going to the beach, playing tennis, driving up I-45 for 3 hours, the sunlight. You know that drive where your knees get a little sunburned. You feel like you're getting some sun on the knees. Well, you better wear your shades, else your eyes are going to get sunburned too, because they're so affordable. You don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every single occasion. If you need a new pair of sunnies, and who doesn't, Gooder is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas, all caps, for free shipping. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. You've heard me say many times you don't need it, and 1,000% satisfaction, which I do guarantee. That's gooder.com/OnTexas and use that code for free shipping.
Thank you, Jerry. And I do want to say thank you. You talked about the super chats. I got a list here of people who had comments. I put them up while y'all were talking. Bobby Mayo Spreader, OG Slingblade, Rocky P, Rich Thompson, Brady S, Corey J, Torred 717, and David. Thank you all for your super chats. We appreciate that. And we're going to jump into more super chats, guys, because we got them out the wazoo this morning. Let's see here. We got a few asking about Flood. Bobby's Mayo Spreader here. Is Flood the issue? Trills Max says Kyle Flood needs to be held accountable. Y'all's thoughts?
And Sark must hire an OC immediately. You know, I think it's easy to point fingers, but Kyle Flood's also the one that helped you get to 2 national semifinals. So is Steve Sarkisian, his offensive coordinator. I think the issue here is personnel. And I mean that, I'm trying to say this the right way, personnel and attitude. And so there's no Kelvin Banks on this offensive line. There's not. And as good as Trevor Gooseby might be, he didn't have 3 years starting experience. Jake Majors, 4 years starting experience at center. You're putting in a new center in Cole Hudson. Cam Williams was at least in the program 3 years. Brandon Baker's probably a year too early to be playing, if you want to know the truth. I think it's easy to point fingers at an offensive line coach, but or even personnel and not going to the portal. There's a lot of things that we can all point to, but what I would say is I don't feel like this is Kyle Flood's fault somehow. I just, that's not how football works. It's not how a team works. It takes players not stepping up and not being physical. I can tell you, Kyle Flood doesn't go in there and say, "Hey, don't be physical." I can tell you that's not his mandate. And so I hesitate to sit there and just paint with a broad brush. But I will tell you that in an ideal situation, Brandon Baker's on the field a year too soon. Nick Brooks going in at left guard or Connor Stroh couldn't handle anybody in pass pro. I think that, and so when I say personnel, that's what I'm talking about right now. I think there's some guys that are playing that are young, and you're going to have growing pains when you play young players, period. Or inexperienced players, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always going to say this because we're going to enter the sacrificial lamb world, it seems like. And I said this when Bo Davis was blamed for everything. Nick Saban tried to hire him twice. He had him on his staff. Kyle Flood was the offensive line coach for an Alabama national championship team. They were physical. I'm just saying, like, these guys don't become bad coaches that were coaching for the greatest of all time when he hired them and they were part of national championship staffs. It does not work that way.
Nope.
Jeff Banks, Nick Saban once called the best special teams coach he's ever had. Just saying.
Yeah, I will say this and add to it. It doesn't mean they're absolved of blame either. They're paid to do a job, and so my point on all of this is people are looking for simple answers. Well, just fire this guy and bring in somebody else. Just hire an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
The truth is the problems are much bigger than any one person right now at offensive line, in my opinion, and more than just a mentality shift. There are multiple issues going on right now on the offensive line, and it's not the coach. And get a new coach. It's just not as easy as that. Life is more nuanced.
And Amars, thank you for your super chat as well there at the end. We're going to stay on the O-line talk for just a moment. T-Top Network says Brandon Baker continues to struggle. Could we see a change with Baker? And why am I under the impression that James Simon may be our best bet at running back?
Well, I want to say this about we can talk about Baker in a second, Jerry. I'll let you take that one, okay? With Simon, he may be eventually, okay? He got no action for a reason, and I bet strongly that has to do with pass protection. You're not putting him out there when people are running free at your quarterback. That's most likely my opinion. Now, I will add to this about Trey Wisner. I thought Trey Wisner looked rusty on Saturday. He did not hit some holes. He looked like he hadn't been really full go for a while. Doesn't mean he didn't try and all that other stuff. I'm not talking about effort, but he looked like he bounced everything outside on Saturday. Yes, everything was clogged up inside, so I'm not debating that. But he was bouncing everything outside. That's one of the reasons why Brandon Baker was called for a hold. That run was designed to go inside. Baker held on as Wisner popped it outside. But Jerry, your thoughts on Baker?
Yeah, well, I want to say this on Simon. Simon needs to play a lot. I'm way past the pass protection thing. I mean, I just am, and that's it's just that I'm just way past that. I mean, you bring in Nick Brooks at left guard. He's never played it before in his life in college football. I mean, so I'm past the pass protection thing. They need to play the best runner. James Simon's the best runner on this team. They need to hand him the ball and play him at running back, my opinion.
Including Cedric Baxter? And if Cedric Baxter's healthy?
Look, Cedric Baxter's not – he had a major knee injury, and now he's got the hamstring behind it. He's not Look, I love Cedric Baxter. Y'all know I love Cedric Baxter's character and him. I've told the story so many times, I'm not going to tell it again. But I think he's a really good player when he's healthy. He knows the offense like a quarterback. He's a great pass protector, but he's got to be healthy. But I think as a runner, when you hand the ball off to a runner, I think James Simon's the best on this team.
All right. Last thing I want to say on Baker, I said it early. The right side of the offensive line was not the issue on Saturday. Now, they may have been the issue not getting a push because nobody got a push. But in pass protection, you go back and watch it, left guard was a turnstile. They ran feigned pressures. They ran straight up on them. They beat Texas up the middle. It wasn't necessarily the edge pressure. So I don't know. And you go back and look, and I know Pro Football Focus is a grading service that some people like, some people don't. Brandon Baker and DJ Campbell were two of the three highest rated offensive linemen on the team on Saturday. So I don't think it was Baker. I just think, and I do think Baker needed ideally another year of seasoning, another year of strength training, etc.
All right, Jerry, I know you got to get out of here, but before you do, I'm going to read one more super chat. KD35, I am the best. That's fair to say Sark is going to get grilled hard at his presser today and deserves it. And better not just say I need to be better. It's the same every loss. Of course, Sark meets with the media at 11 today.
I don't know if the Texas is generally a place you get grilled. This is an LSU.
Yeah, that's true.
I would. I would be surprised. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Kurt Bowles, Mike. LSU media where it's going to be rock fights and fist fights in a press conference.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And what do you want him to say? Marcus talked a little bit about that. Like, what do you want us as media members to say? There's a limit here of what we can. I mean, we don't know everything going on. I mean, Sark is supposed to have the answers, but what's he going to say other than put it on me? You want him to start blaming players? That's not what a coach does.
If you start hearing that from your coach, you got real issues.
Right. That's my point. I will say this. If he said something like, we got to take advantage of our opportunities and didn't name anybody, I think that's part of what happened on Saturday. I mean, the double pass was there, the fumble not getting that. I mean, the downing the punts. Texas did not overall, on the whole, take advantage of its opportunities. In fact, Florida, in my opinion, did take advantage of their opportunities. And that was a lot of that game.
I will say this. The one thing I want to hear him say is, and to come out and say today is, we got beat physically all over the field. And that can't happen again at this program. That's the first thing I want to hear him say today. And I hope he does.
He said a little bit of that in the post game.
Because if you can't match physicality in the SEC, you have no chance.
All right, Jerry, we'll let you go for today. You got to hit the road.
Headed to DFW. Going to go see a bunch of football prospects, 20 commitments, 2027s. Have our events coming up later in the week. So looking forward to seeing all you guys later in Dallas Friday for the Texas X's golf event, and I'll be reporting from high schools all around the state. Or all around the DFW area.
Take care of yourself, Jerry. Be safe. All right, I'll talk to you later today.
Bye, Jerry. All right, Bobby, we're going to continue on here. Let's see. We got a couple of super chats I actually want to pair together, so bear with me here. We're going to start with this one from Dante. He says, am I unrealistic for thinking Texas should be able to reload like Georgia and Ohio State yearly? Did Sark really think no portal running back or line was needed? Tech bought a playoff team in Lubbock and Texas is looking like Newman High in the NIL era. And then Slick Rick here, kind of along the same lines. Why are we rebuilding and others like Georgia and Oregon reloading, or did Texas go wrong? Did we totally misread the Arch eval? If this is your team, what's your locker room speech? So let's talk about that reloading part.
Yeah, I think Texas is reloading. Marcus said something that resonates with me. Folks are thinking that the sky is falling right now. I would tell you to keep your wits about you. Okay? Texas beats OU, which is what Texas beats OU. Arch keeps improving. You get Emmett Mosley back. You get Cedric Baxter back. Okay. You go and beat OU. You go and beat Kentucky, Mississippi State. All of a sudden, this season looks a little bit different. Okay. So people throwing in the towel need to stop throwing in the towel. I do feel like Texas is reloading, believe it or not. I do think that this is a come up year a little bit for them, because this is really that first Sark second recruiting class. So I'm not as down on this team as maybe some people are. I was down on the performance on Saturday, but I think they have more in them. So I don't think that this is a situation. I do believe, in retrospect, they would be looking at a running back and an offensive lineman in the portal. I think that the key piece on the offensive line, I think they're relying on young guys right now. They could have taken an offensive tackle in the portal. I think the Texas State kid is starting at right tackle at Oregon right now. Okay. So there were probably some guys, if they had to do it all over again, they would probably make that change and make that decision. But, you don't get do-overs. There's no mulligans. They're playing with what they got. Now they got to go make the best of it. I will say this and say it multiple times. People giving up on this team are thinking that Texas isn't reloading. They're not they had to go to the portal to get 5 defensive linemen or 6 defensive tackles. That's not reloading every year. That's you had a dearth at that position. So that's why they're not Georgia or Ohio State at this point. They weren't there yet. They're getting there. And the young players on this team that are taking some hits right now, you won't necessarily be saying that about Nick Brooks or Brandon Baker next year at this time, or Trevor Gooseby, who is a first-year starter himself. So I think that, people are a little out over their skis on writing this team off. The problem that I saw on Saturday was they got physically manhandled. They did not understand how to handle twists and stunts up front, particularly at left guard, and they couldn't move anybody off the line of scrimmage. Florida has a really good defensive front, and it forced them into throwing 40, dropping back 45 times out of 60 snaps. Hope everybody understands that. You don't want to drop back 45 times out of 60 snaps. Yeah. That's my opinion.
All right. I tell you what, Bobby, before we move on, at first I need to thank Joshua Amars and Lockenhorns for their super chats. Put them up on the screen there while you were talking. They had some comments. So appreciate that, fellas. And then let you tell everyone about one of our new sponsors, one of your favorite spots, Kirby Lane.
Yeah, I've been going to Kirby Lane for almost my entire adult life. Once I got to the University of Texas, Kirby Lane All-Day Cafe has been an Austin institution since 1980 with the local vibe and late night pancakes you know and love. Now dinner is where they're raising the bar. Bold, chef-driven entrees like steak frites and Mediterranean chicken, their famous queso, and shareable plates, plus a full line of gluten-free options. And the bar stocked with craft cocktails that deliver. Kirby Lane is the Austin original for a night out with real flavor. Check the full dinner lineup tonight at KirbyLaneCafe.com. Thank you to those folks. I will be there in a couple of weeks visiting Kirby Lane.
And then I'm going to tell everyone this morning about Prize Picks, because we make decisions daily. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. With football season now here, it's time to make that money. Prize Picks is simple. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on the sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and of course, right here in the great state of Texas. And it's Monday, which means we're back on that NFL action. I have Patrick Mahomes throwing more than 1.5 touchdowns, kicker Cam Little to have more than 7 kicking points, and tight end Brenton Strange to have more than 34.5 receiving yards. So come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay, we're going to jump right into Super Chats, Bobby. Let's see here. Jeff Carey says, obviously, there were extremely big problems overall, but can you rate some transfer players individually?
I thought Emmett Mosley played well. He's open deep, made a couple of one contested catch, did everything asked of him. I thought he played well. Jack Injuries, I thought, didn't really get an opportunity to do much. I'm a little concerned that he was hurt on Saturday. He did not return to the game after he went out late in the third quarter. We'll see if Sark gives us an injury update on him. The two kickers, Bo Meester had 3 balls bounce inside the 5-yard line, and none of them got downed. As far as the others, the defensive tackles were probably, in my opinion, disappointing overall as a unit, not just the transfers, but Alex January coming back. They just didn't get off blocks. Florida had a good offensive line. Murad Watson and Cole Brevard looked like they did some things. Hero Canoe, I think, is a high effort player. But other than a pass rush by Cole Brevard, I'm not sure I remember a Texas defensive tackle getting penetration or pushing the pocket at all, Blake. And I think that while we talk about physicality, I think Texas lost the game primarily at defensive tackle on defense and at offensive line on offense. That's where they were really physically manhandled, in my opinion.
And we have one from Seth, and for some reason I can't get it to show up on the screen. But Seth, thank you for the big $50 super chat. He says, because of the point Jerry made with Saban and how we heard how physical camp was, this is why it was alarming to see how they lost. They also felt Ohio State. That's why they didn't know feels like an excuse. Thank you, Bobby. For some reason it wouldn't come up on mine despite me clicking it.
I think there's some truth to this, to what Seth is saying. And if they were able to compete against Ohio State, why couldn't they do it here? Well, I thought both game plans for both Ohio State's game plan against Texas and Texas against Ohio State were very close to the vest. This was a situation where Texas was down by 2 scores, I believe, in the first quarter. Texas, had to play catch up the entire game. And so it felt that way, if that makes sense. Like the offense was running out of time continuously and playing from behind. So while I hear you on some of this, I think that the physicality issue, Texas has to be ready to go here on. The SEC is a grind. And nobody, Seth, in my opinion, is going to forget that. If they do, what happens on Saturday will happen again. But when you go to Kentucky and when you go to Mississippi State, they may not have the playmakers. They may not have the quarterback. They may not have this or that. I'll tell you what they will be. Kentucky was physical against Georgia. Now, Georgia was a way better team, but Kentucky did not lack physicality. So neither did Mississippi State against A&M, but they got whacked. But the point being, physicality has to be a primary for this team, and we didn't see that on Saturday. And that was probably the single most alarming thing is they got manhandled. That's not good.
Well, our next one, we have some people asking about the leadership on this team, such as Tubin, Texas. Who is the leader on this team? I didn't see anyone getting in anyone else's face. This team has no fight or attitude in them. It looks like a Big 12 team. And then I could have sworn we had, Jerry's Jack Links. Will we know if the team has good player leadership very soon? Do y'all see that as a potential issue?
Well, they're young on offense. Who's the leader on offense right now, in y'all's opinion? Is it Cedric Baxter? I mean, he's the guy that kind of gets in people's face a little bit, but he's been injured. So how are you the leader there? The leader fundamentally, and this is what I've been trying to say, the leader fundamentally on offense is probably Arch Manning. And he's an inexperienced quarterback right now. So, yeah, I think they do have a potential issue there because the guy that everybody's going to look to, he's started 6 games now, 7, 8, whatever it is, still young. So, yeah, I think that's the case, Jerry, on offense. On defense, they've got leaders. Taft back there, McDonald, Hill, LaFau, Simmons, Burke. They've got leaders on defense.
And then Leandrew 25, thank you for the super chat, says if Texas loses to Oklahoma, is it safe to say we're looking at a 7-5 or 6-6 season?
Absolutely. I think that is the case. I mean, look, they're 3-2 going to OU. They beat OU and somehow run on Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vandy. Somehow, Vandy looked like a tough out against Alabama. They're now back up to 7-2 with the finals coming up, right, against Georgia, Arkansas, A&M. So my point to everybody is, yes, this is a key game because they will not be favored at Georgia no matter what they do between here and there. They are unlikely to be favored against A&M no matter what they do between here and there. And so I would say that 6-6, 7-5 is very much in play if Texas does not beat OU. This is the game that has to turn the season, in my opinion. Texas favored by what, 3.5, Blake?
It opened at 3.5. It's now at 2.5. But yes, Texas is the favorite, which drove the internet absolutely bonkers. Yes.
Yeah, unranked Texas versus number 6 ranked OU.
Yeah,
that's strange. Rarely do you see that, but we'll see what happens.
And then let's see here. Another one from A Mars. Thank you again. We appreciate the super chats today. Niblet package equals offensive trouble. Why is he in the game? Why is offense the issue with this team? The head coach is an offensive guy. Offense should be the strength of this team every year, says A Mars.
9 new starters on offense, guys. We probably should have been prognosticated that better in the preseason. So some of that is on me and folks that work with us here on Texas football and other media members as well across the Texas pantheon and nationally. But at the same, I did not expect this level of offensive line play. I'll be honest. I thought they were going to be better at guard, center guard this year, and they're not. They're just not. What was the other part of that question?
It was, let me get back to it. Just why is offense the issue, and then why is Niblet?
Niblet. I mean, look, I think the Niblet package is not bad if you have, 3 to 5 plays like that. I think that the problem is when he's in, the ball is about 50% of the time going to him. So it's a little bit of a tell. But I think that leak play to Parker Livingston was part of the Niblet package where his motion takes the defender with him and you go backside to Parker Livingston. So I think there's a little bit of that at play too. Some window dressing.
All right, Bobby, before we get to our last few supers of the day, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about Longhorn Wealth Management Group.
Yeah, I can do that. John and his folks over at Longhorn Wealth Management, we appreciate them very much. John has been a long-term Texas Exes member. He is helping put together the build-out of the Collin County Texas Exes chapter. He wants all Longhorn fans in the Collin County area to know if you're not going to the Cotton Bowl for the game on this Saturday, make sure you go to the Collin County chapter. They'll be hosting their official game watching party for Texas OU at Dirty Birds in Plano. John also wants to inform all OTF fans that October is National Financial Planning Month. So if you want to initiate a financial planning process or get a second opinion from a CFP, John is offering a free 90-minute private consultation to review and analyze your financial picture. You can contact John and the Longhorn Wealth team, 972-707-4900, or go online, www.longhornwealth.net. Book them from John and the Longhorn Wealth team.
All right, we got one here from Channel 2. Have y'all talked about what on earth Neto has done to get no playing time at the left guard position, which Channel 2 says, in their opinion, is the worst in the SEC?
It's NATO, by the way. We got to say
NATO.
We need to say his name right. It's NATO. Look, I think that it's and you can say DUI, it gets a DUI, it still gets playing time. It is about physicality and about playing and where they see things. And NATO got beat out by Connor Stroh in fall camp. I can't tell you why he got beat out. I'm not in the meetings, So I think that if it happens, it happens. The coaches aren't trying to lose their jobs. They're putting the players out there they think play the best. So it is what it is at this point, guys.
And then our next one this morning, Bobby, comes from Parth Brooks, one of my favorite usernames on here. How did our D-line get dominated at the point of attack? The front four ain't that bad. They were good at worst at Ohio State, if not great. Was it effort, hunger, skill versus will?
Boy, maybe Florida's interior offensive front is better than Ohio State's. Ohio State's got a young offensive line too. Don't forget that. They're playing with a very young offensive line right now. I think it's possible that guard center guard at Florida is better than guard center guard at Ohio State. That would be that. As far as effort, hunger, skill versus will, could something like that have been a problem? I don't know. What does this say?
CE says same thing for 5 years and same results. Zero physicality in the run game. It's technique and scheme. Same at Saban would bring in Pittman to help flood.
Guys, I mean, I want to. Being a dominant run team in the SEC is just not going to happen. I just want to put that out there. And Texas, in his 4 years at Texas, Sark has had a 1,000-yard rusher in each of those years. I mean, so don't tell me this is, it's the same problem. We can't run. A lot of people can't run. I mean, now they got to do better than 15 yards on 11 carries. But some teams can stop the run. And there is a physical advantage for the defense, which, by the way, is why I was so disappointed in the Texas defense. So I think that some people are overreacting here. Yes, run game was an issue on Saturday. It hasn't always been an issue at Texas. So, anyways, I hear y'all. I mean, everybody's mad and wants answers, and the reality of it is the solution is hard work, effort, work together, learn every day. It's not snap of fingers, let's change it all. It doesn't work that way. Saban bringing in Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman's not available right now, guys. He's sitting on millions of bucks and just trying to, hang out. You can't bringing in a offensive line coach mid-season and an assistant offensive line coach mid-season. The value of that would be probably negative overall. Because you're going to get somebody else in their ear trying to tell them what to do.
No.
And as opposed to just listening to a proven coach in Kyle Flood. My opinion.
And let's see here. We got a couple on Arch from Derek. Arch seems to hold the ball as long as Arnold. Why would we think he's not going to get sacked 7+ times? Juan Garza says Sark should call Cutcliffe to come on staff to help with Manning. And I thought there was one other one here about Arch, more about the offense from Seige. Says with the O-line being unable to immediately improve, we should see a huge shift in play calling, shorter routes, quicker throws for poor Arch. Hook 'em.
I think there's some truth to that last piece. Now, Rod and I both agree with that for sure. Some quicker stuff that doesn't require Manning to hold on to it for 3+ seconds would be welcome. And so I agree with that. I would go back to Oklahoma may have 7 sacks. They still have a chance to win the game. I don't care how many times Arch gets sacked if Texas wins. I want to say that. If Texas puts up 21 points against OU, does Texas win on Saturday if Michael Hawkins is the starting quarterback? As long as, in my opinion, as long as they score 21 points and don't give OU any points on defense, I think as long and Mateer doesn't play, there's a route here. And I will say this: everybody's saying he's Jackson Arnold. Give me a break. I mean, how many times did Arch evade pass rush and get back to the line of scrimmage or gain yardage on Saturday? 10 to 12 times. Jackson Arnold could have been sacked 15 times in that game, in my opinion. And even amidst it, he completed some passes. There's no comparison between what Jackson Arnold craters. He freezes. Arch is not freezing. He's moving in the pocket. Rocky P says, what was that, Blake?
As frustrated as we are, I can't imagine the frustration for the teams and coaches. This was the punch in the mouth they needed to wake up. We'll just say that. Most excited to see this team go 9-2 into the Aggie game. And I'm going to add on to this one from Mr. All I Do Is Win. What teams do we need to beat to not lose any of the staff this year? So,
what do you mean any of the staff? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure
lose a coaching. I mean, there is typically some movement on coaching staffs. It's a shard choice left after this year, even after you went to the national semifinals. So I think that I don't know that that's possible. I think that, and I put a question up to the chat and to everybody on YouTube, Blake, last night. Where do you think Texas finishes this year? 10-2, 9-3, 8-4, or worse? And my opinion is, if I were betting right now, and I don't bet, I'd say 8-4 or worse. But I do think that 9-3 is really possible. And if they beat Oklahoma and can get on a roll and start protecting their quarterback, they protect Arch even though they got physically manhandled on the offensive and defensive lines, they protect Arch just a modicum better. They may come out and they may have beaten Florida on Saturday because Texas had receivers running free. He just didn't have the time to get it to him.
8-4 is the favorite right now, Bobby. 44% of 2,400 votes, followed by worse. And then 9-3 with 16% of the vote, and 10-2 with 5.
Yeah, so I think as a crowd-sourced answer, most people expect 8-4 right now.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yep. All right, we got a couple more to get to. Let's see. Sorry, there's so many. I'm having to go through them. Football Texas says, Bobby, if we're gonna stink, I'd rather stink it up with some of these highly rated freshmen. Your thoughts?
Well, Nick Brooks, you got it. You wanted it. You got it. That's what happened at left guard. Cade Phillips saw some action, considerable action at corner too, by the way. I liked some of what I saw there. Grayson Littleton, of course, played a bunch. We did not see James Simon. We didn't see enough of Nick Townsend, in my opinion. Saw a little bit of Amari Winston. But we'll see. I will tell you, going on the road and playing a bunch of freshmen in Florida, in Gainesville, you didn't see that in high school, guys. You didn't see that kind of physical grind. There's something to that. I really believe that. There's a little something to the fact that this was the first true road game for Texas played against an SEC opponent in conference where you had to match that intensity, where they're going to have equal talent in most positions, if not better. So they got shown what it's like to be physical. Now either they can match it or they can go home and cry about it. They need them to go match it.
And we have two more, Bobby. Before we get out, Brian says, are Sark and his staff not doing a great job of evaluating their players? A lot of holes in this roster, says Brian. Need more players who play physical like Nick Townsend.
Well, not many people play as physical as Nick Townsend, even if you want to. They just don't. I mean, they're not that. They don't play with that sort of reckless abandon, in my opinion. But there are holes on this roster on the offensive line in particular, and I want to see a defensive tackle that can penetrate and get off blocks. Now, maybe they are on the roster and they're young. Maybe it's an Alex January, Murad Watson. Maybe they need more out of a Travis Shaw. He's only playing 15 snaps or so a game. Cole Brevard is being asked to play 20 snaps a game. I mean, maybe they're here, but I think that's part of it. I do think they need more in that category.
And our final one comes from Tat. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thank you, Tat. Have the coaches lost the team? Last time they looked like this was when Tom Herman was the coach and he had lost his team.
Sark was 5-7 his first year at Texas. That looked much worse than what I've seen at this point. I mean, Texas could. Florida is a talented football team. Okay, Texas didn't just go and lose to, I don't know, Oklahoma State. People are wanting this to be like this ultimatum or referendum on Texas football. It could be a referendum if they don't move on and improve from here. But it's the only thing that I think people really learn is Texas has to be more physical going into SEC play, period. I think we actually saw a couple of positives. One of those was the grit and determination of the Texas quarterback. He took some hits. He's gonna, so long as he stays healthy, he's gonna fight as much as he can. So I am a believer in some aspects of this. Other aspects, they have to raise their level of play. You can't continually get beat on twists and stunts on the left side. I mean, you cannot do that. I mean, the quarterback was dropping back, and at the top of his drop, he already had people in his lap. Okay? How are you going to run an offense that way? You can't. The defensive side of the ball was more shocking to me, but I can draw that up to a little bit of a Florida offensive line that returned, 4 of 5 starters. 4 of those guys are expected to be NFL players. They got up on Texas early and kind of leaned on Texas in that regard. I mean, there's a little questions to be answered. Texas got to figure something out at left guard right now. That's probably the most pressing issue I see on the team. Beyond that, we'll see how they get going, because I don't think Saturday was necessarily, this referendum unless they can't fix some of the issues.
And I put this up when you were talking about the freshmen, but we'll revisit it real quick. Tired of the circle of trust nonsense from Roy Hinosa. Thank you, Roy. That talking point only works when you're winning. Wilson balled out for Florida. He would be wasted at Texas.
What, dude, timeout. So I want to say this to folks. Dallas Wilson is a freak. Okay? Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, those guys played as true freshmen at Texas. He's in that category. So take with it what you will. Miss the evaluation on our 5-star wide receiver. No doubt they will be good down the road, but as far as immediate impact, there is none. Was development the plan? Yeah, I mean, Khalil Lockett's not as good as Dallas Wilson, fellas. I got news for you. I don't know where they were ranked, but I like Khalil Lockett. That's not. I'm not. I would say the same thing about Dalen McCutcheon, Jamie French, and Michael Terry. I mean, Dallas Wilson's a better player than those guys. Yeah, it's not. Did I miss the evaluation? I mean, it's just the reality. No matter who's doing it.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to say? I mean, he trucked Michael Taft, and Jelani McDonald was trying to hold on for dear life, and Kobe Black was on his back. It wasn't single play. He's a different dude. So, I mean, Jaden Ball was not as highly ranked as some other running backs either. But Jaden Ball would start at Texas tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, Bobby. That's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I want to thank them, along with Gooder, Mint Mobile, Kirby Lane, and, of course, Prize Picks, all for sponsoring today's show. What do you have for people later today?
We got lunch with the coach, Brian Irwin and Bob Shipley. I think you're going to have some things to say about this game. Hopefully they have some specifics that people can dive into. We've got Steve Sarkisian at 11:30 for his weekly press conference. Jeff and CJ are going to be on site for that. And then we got Talking Ball. Once Jerry gets up to Dallas, he and I are going to talk a little Texas football. He's going to be at a practice this afternoon of a current Longhorn commitment. And then Rod, Coach Shipley, and CJ get going tonight. Every night, by the way, I want to mention this, at 7:15 from Sunday through Thursday, we have a Longhorn live stream. Please join those guys. And I want to say this to everybody out there right now, okay? We live and die with the Longhorns. The passion is we wear it on our sleeve, okay? Do not go overboard with this. I would caution you to not, think the war is lost. This is a season. Texas has a young team. I do think they're going to get better. And I do think they have a spine. Okay. Root them on, stick with them, and get after it. And also, people are saying thank you to Marcus. I would say thank you to Marcus Myers for coming on as well. You did a great job this morning, articulating some things that I think fans were feeling and are feeling. And you're every right to your feelings. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, at the same time, there is a positive. This is still a very talented team. They are just young.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we had a great time in Florida at the tailgate. I want to thank everybody that showed up, and as well as Rick over at Surly Horns for helping manage that, put it all together. Thank y'all. And it was so good to see so many people over in Gainesville this past weekend.
Yes. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. Hope you all have a great day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake.